Obesity saved my life. Hashtag no judgment. Hello everyone, my name is Peggy, and today I have a story that you simply won't believe. My morbid obesity saved my life and made me a hero. Woohoo! Yeah! If you're with me, scream! But before we get into that, I just need to drop the hashtag F your beauty standards. Hashtag get your belly out. Anyways, everything started when my boyfriend Phil bought me a 3-day cruise to the Bahamas from Orlando. We flew down to Florida, hung out at Disneyland for a few days, and then took a shuttle bus to the cruise of our dreams. I loved so many things about the experience: the pool deck, the comedy shows, and the amazing sunsets. But what I loved the most was the 24/7 all-you-can-eat buffets that were on the ship. I mean, I probably spent 90% of my waking hours stuffing food in my face. I ate so much that the calories I burnt from all of the chomping made it so that I was endlessly hungry. It was like the perfect circle, or so I thought. Towards the end of the trip, my boyfriend made a comment that really upset me. He said that if I didn't slow down on stuffing my face, I might not fit in the ship's narrow corridors, and that I could become a safety hazard to others. I was sick with fury. Who did he think he was? Making remarks like that? Especially since he knew I was insecure about my looks. When we were at the pool and he was eyeing other girls, I let it slide. But that remark would have consequences. So I told Phil he was a chauvinistic pig and that this ship is too small for the both of us. He rolled his eyes and snickered, and I realized that he was implying that the ship was too small because I was so big. I seriously lost it. I literally spit in his face, smacked him, and ran to the restaurant where I ate the biggest, most fattening dinner in the history of the world. My appetizer was 5 scoops of ice cream and an entire package of Oreo cookies. For my soup, I just poured a huge bowl of liquefied taffy and drank that. I visited the salad bar to get some greens, but instead just dumped out all of the fried bacon toppings on a plate and mixed it with a bottle of ranch dressing and butter. And for my main dish, I ate fried funnel cake with powdered sugar and a huge steak. For dessert, I had a hamburger. Then, after taking a break, I visited the Mexican restaurant, where I piled nothing but fried beans into my trap, bowl after bowl. I wanted to start eating tacos, but all of a sudden, I got the worst abdominal pain of my life. I mean, I was so swollen and gassy that I felt like I was pregnant. Regardless, that night, I knew I'd be giving birth in some form. I slowly walked back to my cabin, moaning in pain from the 3 days of gorging on food. Now, the next part of the story is very graphic, so I will try not to go into any details of what happened. Basically, when I sat down to, relieve myself, let's call it pressure, waste was exiting me faster than the small cruise ship toilet could accommodate. I tried to flush the toilet, but it became clogged and began to override into my cabin where Phil was sleeping. The smell was so foul that he woke up and became sick, gagging and screaming that something is wrong with the ship. It smells vile. I burst out of the restroom and screamed at him. How could you say that about me? First you imply that I'm fat, and then you call me vile? I left the room and headed back to the buffet, where I remained until the next morning. This experience was how I discovered my undying love for gorging on food at all-you-can-eat buffets, and from that time, I became rather, plus-sized. Fortunately, Phil stayed with me through this transitional phase and even said he thinks I look more beautiful than ever. He's so sweet. Although one day, I overheard him say to his friend he was considering buying me a feeding trough for Christmas, but that they probably didn't make them big enough for my smallest meal. Then he continued to say that for sure he needs to build an outhouse or something because the stench from my bathroom time is comparable to a daily biohazards disaster. This was no way to talk about a lady. I could actually hear his friends laughing through the phone from the other room. Phil then said to his friend,
"All joking aside, I love my girl, and I think she is the best, and that is why, on Christmas, I'd like to buy her a wedding ring."
Phil paused, and my heart started pounding rapidly. I listened passionately to hear what romantic ideas he had for our wedding and our future. My sweet love continued.
"The only problem, not only do they make wedding dresses for elephants, I don't even think that an elephant would fit through the church door." The one thing we had going for us is that in this day and age, I'd probably be allowed to at least legally marry an elephant. So maybe Peggy would settle for an elephant collar and a civil union next Christmas.
Honestly speaking, to this day, I don't even have words for how shameful, judgmental, and terrible this made me feel. This just goes to show that we live in a world where cruel, double standards, and microaggressions are considered to be normal. Those remarks deeply hurt my feelings. But now I understand that some people don't get how bad fat shaming is, and that I needed to educate him. So when our anniversary came up, I booked us a surprise cruise, but on a fitness-themed voyage for people who want to be in shape. I had the worst time of my life. The food sucked. It was all gross organic health crap with zero flavor and extremely little proportions. The worst part was that there was no buffet, no pizza, no burgers or hot dogs. So I'd have to eat like 10 servings of that vegan trash, which would just give me the runs, worse than if I had drank a gallon of grease for dinner. The other thing I really couldn't stand were those skinny girls who thought they were models or something. I mean, come on! Who did they think they were? Trampling around the pool deck in G-strings, in revealing tops, sneering at me like they thought they were better? In reality, I knew that they were just jealous of me because I was beautiful on the inside, and they were just empty blonde airhead morons. I mean, I've been dealing with those types my whole life. The last thing I wanted to do was be stranded on a cruise with them. For example, there was this one immigrant girl from Europe at my work one time who thought she was so pretty. She'd come into the office with makeup on and skirts. It was so inappropriate. I wanted to make a difference, so making little comments to her that any sane moral person would. Hey you! I don't know how they dress back where you're from, but here in America, that type of attire typically reserved for cheap escorts. Or I'd inquire, hey, my brother is lonely and curious how much an hour costs. Whoops, sorry, I mistook you for, never mind. This one time, I chose not to beat around the bush and just directly told her how I feel. I said, listen, what you do in your time is your business, and I'm not passing judgment, but I really prefer if you wouldn't use the restroom in this workspace. I don't think it's hygienic given the nature of your extracurriculars. I could suggest that you go down the street and use the washroom at that speedy pump. I don't think the drunks down there would mind. Can you believe the airhead filed a report with HR? Making up all this stuff about me, and she almost got me fired. The boss just favored her because she dressed that way, and I, as a wholesome individual, have to suffer the consequences. And on that ship, those types were everywhere. Whatever, I actually have class, so I'll keep my opinions about them to myself. But Phil was pretty happy that I was trying to meet him halfway. On the 5th day into the cruise, we heard this disastrous sound followed by an alarm and order to abandon ship. This was the last thing I ever expected. I didn't even know how to swim, so when I found out that there were not enough lifeboats for everyone, I was sure that I was a goner. The ship went down fast, and I saw people drowning all around me. All of those little toothpick people just sunk straight down to the bottom of the sea, like Leonardo DiCaprio did in Titanic. At first, I was screaming in terror, thinking that I was going to die. But then, it all became clear. My beautiful, big body was buoyant. I was a lifeboat. Other women and children clung to me until they were rescued. That evening, on local Channel 3 News, they did an interview with me, and I was able to tell the world what a hero I was. And until this day, people regard me as a human lifeboat, a title I wear with honor. Anyways, Phil survived the wreck because he is also, let's say buoyant. And I got a question for you guys. Do you think I should somehow confront him about those unspeakable things he said? Should I leave him for a more attractive guy with a better figure to prove to him that I'm the best? Let me know in the comment section and subscribe. Maybe one day I'll come back and let you know how it all worked out.